Okay guys, so since the last time we did one of these was in 2018, I wanted to go ahead and drop a 2022/updated modern version of a team building guide. So this is obviously more towards the new player's perspective, but if you want to just kind of go ahead and watch the video if you're a veteran or whatever, maybe there's something in here for you as well. But anyways, there will probably be a couple more guides I do over the course of the next week or so, so stay tuned for those. Click that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you guys are alerted instantly when we do have those coming out. And as well as that, if you find the video helpful when you finish it, please be sure to help us hit our like goal of 1,000 by hitting that like button. But before we jump in, we do have a quick sponsor to cover, and then we'll get in right after that. Out of all of the mobile games I've ever played, I've got to admit that Raid Shadow Legends is easily one of the most gorgeous and innovative games around. With hundreds of artifacts to equip and over 600 champions packed with amazing skills, the possibilities for amazing team compositions are endless. So if that sounds good, get started playing today on mobile or PC by scanning my QR code or clicking the link down below in the description. And as a veteran of Raid Shadow Legends, I'll tell you these characters stole my heart. We have Venus, who is an extremely versatile offensive support champion with amazing abilities like a party-wide cleanse. And lastly, I absolutely had to mention Seal of the Drakes. Honestly, her stun has saved me so many times, and it's absolutely critical to have versus longer fights. And there's a ton happening in Raid this month. There's an entirely new event, the Path of Light, and you'll be able to explore 3 branching paths to get the rewards you want the most. And on top of that, there's some awesome new champions coming out and a set of skins for the amazing Trunda Guilt Mallet. But wait, there's more. Raid's currently running a special Deliana chase event. New and existing players can get their hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 20th, and you'll get Deliana for free, and that's it. And that's not all. All new players, once you're in the game, just enter the promo code MyDeliana to get 50 XP brews to max your legendary hero Deliana to level 50, as well as a ton of silver. The promo code is available from May 23rd to July 20th. The gifts for new players keep on coming. Hit the link in the description to get a free champion, Vergis. Also, 200k silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and an ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in the game. You'll find all these rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. And once you're in, you can find me in the game under the name DFree. And if you're fast, you can join my clan. And it's that easy. Just click the link in the description, and I'll see you in the game. Okay, so like I said, we're going to try to cover this as quickly as possible. I know a lot of people don't have the best attention span, so if you need to put the video on 1.5 times speed or whatever to help you get through it, whatever helps you finish the video or listen to as much of it as possible and get the most out of it, just be sure to do that. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. So we're going to start with the extreme basics of the fact that each team has 6 character slots, so you can fill in 6 different characters on your team. And as you go ahead and do that, you'll notice different things are happening. We'll talk about each and every aspect in a minute, but bear with me. So when you're building your team, the most important thing to discern and decide is what team you're going to build. And that's very important because obviously there are meta teams like any other game like this. There are teams that are better than others. There's characters that are better than others. And you can discern which ones obviously through other resources like tier lists or videos or simply learning how to just read the kits, right? Going forward as you play the game more, you'll understand what mechanics are better than others. But nonetheless, though, you want to decide which characters you're going to build your team around. So let's go ahead and build a team around Super Gogeta for this video, as he's one of the best characters in the game and he's already available to me right there. So each and every single character has an episode and a tag. If you go to filter and sort out, you can see each tag here. Again, there's different sorting options for them. And each episode, again, if there's a Z ability boost, which it's not very common with episodes, admittedly, you can build a team based on that. But nonetheless, if we take a look at Super Gogeta himself, he has access to all of these tags at the bottom: Saiyan, Otherworld Warrior, Super Saiyan, so on and so forth. And also a nice quality of life change. If you want to also sort it here, you can do that now. This was actually just added in this update, so you can see all the characters in the Saiyan grouping, and again, filter options are available here if you want that. So basically you're building teams around tags in this game. You can also, again, like I said at the top, episode sagas from the movies. He's a movie-based character. He's from a movie. That is a group that you can build a team around as well. So there's another thing there. But that's not all that matters. What really matters outside of that is the Z abilities of the characters, because as you see, Z abilities and tags tie in together. And as an example of that, the Z ability on Super Gogeta offers 3% to special move damage for Super Saiyan tag characters only. So no, your SS4 Goku is not going to be getting a Super Saiyan tag specific buff because he doesn't have that tag, if that makes sense. Even though he is a Super Saiyan, he's not a Super Saiyan 1 is what it's signifying, right? And again, if you ever need to clarify, you can just take a look at the tags in the game. These are all the Super Saiyan 1s currently, right? So anyways, we go back to where we were. That's not all he's offering. He's also offering 38% to Fusion Warrior or Saiyan characters, strike, attack, and defense. So I didn't really cover it too much because it's pretty self-explanatory. Each character has all of these different stats, and that also obviously determines how good they are. The stats and Z abilities are manipulatable when it comes to getting more limit breaks and duplicate summons of the character, or just farming them if they're a free character. You get it, right? So these things will go up as you go ahead and max them out. Like if I were to show him my maxed out numbers, right, this is how his stats look. The Z ability gets upgraded to the final version of the Z ability. There are several different ones throughout the progression of a character. So you're building a team, to recap, based around the tag and the Z ability functionality. Obviously, again, you have to decide, like I did, who you're going to build your team around and what your theme is of your team going to be, right? So if we start off with Ultra Gogeta as a point, right? I want to go ahead and from there, because it's relevant in a similar way, and it really only applies to the ultra rarity characters in the game. As you see, there are all these rarities at the top: Hero, Extreme, Sparking, Ultra. It only really applies to ultra characters, and these are the only ones in the game right now, so it's not really all that relevant, but there is an ultra ability right here. So ultra characters, basically, short and sweet, need to either be on the specified team. As you see right here, it says if he's not in your leader slot, he needs to basically be on Fusion Warrior to get all of those buffs, or they need to be in the leader specific spot. So you see the team spot he's in says leader on the side of him on the top. What that means is, even if the character doesn't have access to the Z abilities, they still can get those buffs. So remember how I said your SS4 Goku won't be getting the Super Saiyan specific buff or whatever? If you put him in a leader slot with Ultra Gogeta on the team, he will get that buff. And if we take a look at the Z abilities that are active, you see how this is all grayed out, right? Because this Goku, the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku's Z ability has no relevance whatsoever for Gogeta, because Gogeta is not from the Universe Survival Saga in Super. He's not a God Key character. But it says at the bottom in red, select the leader as a battle member and this effect will activate even if this character does not meet the necessary conditions. So in the leader slot, it says that in the battle, the character will get these. So if you just put the character in the leader slot and then you play a match and don't actually take the leader slot character into battle, then again, the effect will not activate. And this goes both ways, by the way, because the effects that wouldn't have applied otherwise can extend out to the other characters. So again, you see Goku has the same verbiage when it comes to the Z ability from Ultra Gogeta, so Goku would be getting that extra 3%, right? So that's the only exception to the rule of tags, is the leader slot. So the leader slot character, to summarize, has access to all of the Z abilities on the team as a battle member, and then also as a battle member, one of the 3 characters you actually take into battle can extend out their Z ability to characters that would not have had it otherwise, right? And then on top of that, ultra characters would need to be in the leader slot to get their full buff. It says right here, if you pause and read it, they need to be in the leader slot to get the full 30% to those stats. And if not in the leader slot, they need to at least be on their team to, again, get full effectiveness out of this. And let's talk about Z abilities here in a separate fashion a little bit. Please understand one thing when it comes to Z abilities. They are extremely important. There's a little more. There's Ultra abilities, Zenkai ability. We'll talk about all that. We already talked about Ultra. But they're all active all the time, outside of the leader specific stuff that we talked about, where, you know, some of them activate, they don't, whatever. We already talked about that. But outside of that functionality, if the character has it as an option, it's always active, right? So like, it doesn't only apply to the 3 characters you bring in a battle. So there's 6 slots on your team, right? So how do I want to do this? I guess since they're more relevant right now, we'll switch focus. We'll actually build a team around him. So a lot of the characters that recently came out are Universe Survival Saga based characters. And though all those characters have a Z ability, you saw all the glows and stuff, all those characters have a Z ability for Universe Survival. So the thing is, all of these characters get the Z abilities that are relevant to them in battle, even if, say I take only the bottom 3. The Z abilities from Kale, Goku, and Urine are still active, if that makes sense. There's no restrictions on that. And I wanted to point out, because people get confused on that, They also, in a similar topic, there's not a lot to say about this. In a similar topic, people also get confused about equips. No, it doesn't mean that if you put this equip in slot 1, you don't get the slot 2 and 3 effects. That's something that people are still confused about. That's fair as a criticism, by the way, or like confusion. It's loading here. But like you see, I put it in the first slot for equips. That doesn't mean these ones don't activate, right? You get all 3 slots no matter where you put it all the time, okay? Again, this really trips people up, but all these things are active unless it tells you otherwise. As shown with the Ultra ability, it literally will tell you otherwise, right? Unless it tells you otherwise, assume that it works that way because it does. So anyways, that is pretty much the general gist of the overall overview of team building. We're going to go ahead and from there transition to talking about color synergy. So let's go ahead and go from there. So as you play, you're going to obviously learn that some characters and colors are, and this happens in waves, right? But characters and colors are obviously more relevant than others because the game does have power creep. Just like any other, I guess, mobile gacha game that has access to PvP, you're going to experience some of the same elements. It just, there's really not a lot of variance when it comes to that type of thing. But anyways, you're going to notice that certain characters you're going to see in every match as you rank up. Like right now, also based on popularity when they came out, blah, blah. Right now you see UI Goku because he just came out. You see him in almost every match. Probably at least like 75% of matches you play, he's going to be featured in some way. Even if he doesn't actually enter, he'll still be on the team because he was an option for them to use, right? Things like that. So you're going to see him a lot. And that's going to happen as you go ahead and rank up. You're going to see some of the best characters. Like right now, the best characters are the Ultras or some of the LFs like LF Android 17 and 18. Like you're going to see these characters all of the time. So one thing I like to live by personally is having a lot of color synergy. I don't like personally building a team like just like this, right? Where it's like all just yellow characters. You can build a mono team like this, and this is not a good example because there are Z abilities, by the way, that also boost just colors, okay? So that's another thing too. Like there are characters that don't have tags on their Z abilities. They just have color specific ones to where, like this guy, to where like if you fit the color criteria they're showing, like blue and purple, you get the boost too. There's a little more to that. I don't like building teams like this because unless you have a character that has color neutrality, type neutrality, because there's a whole color wheel, right? You'll see that when you play in the top corner. Anyways, as you go ahead and proceed, unless you have type neutrality, this is really easy to counter a team just one single solid color by using the actual weakness color, right? So I don't like doing that personally. And if you were to do that, you're probably better off running at least 1 blue on the team as well so you can cover that weakness, right? 5 yellows and 1 blue. It goes ahead and goes through all the colors. 5 purples and 1 red. There are characters that, again, have type neutrality, like that can cover their own weaknesses, if that makes sense to you. It's based on what the characters actually themselves can do. This guy, he can't do it. But like there are things like that you can consider too when it comes to building your teams. But I'd say generally you want to have color synergy. And what does that word even mean personally? When it comes down to color synergy, it's really hard to explain the color synergy part without showing you. I'm going to go ahead and confirm this without showing you the actual color wheel. Give me just a second. Okay, so I want you to ignore light and dark for the most part because those elements are pretty much irrelevant. There's only one light character that's playable currently, and that's Shallot. Which you can, I mean, Shallot's decent, I guess, but, you know, for the most part, you're not using it. But if you were to use him, he's neutral to the rest of the board, but strong against dark, which there's no playable dark characters because dark is strong against every color except for light, as you see from the graph. So I kind of don't want to ever see a dark character because they'll always have an advantage unless Shallot gets buffed or there's more lights. But naturally, the 5 on the side are the ones you're going to be playing with. You see kind of why I said that having, if you had a team of all yellows, you want a blue. It's pretty self-explanatory because as you see by the graph here, red is strong against yellow, but wouldn't you know it, blue is strong against red. So you can always kind of match them, basically. And the only time it really gets tricky is if they were to bring multiple reds, but most people aren't really carrying multiple of one color because there's only 6 slots and there's 5 colors, right? So that's the only time it gets really tricky, right? But same deal applies if you were to bring a full team of purple characters, right? Let's say we built a team of all purple characters. Just this is our last example, so bear with me because this is hyper beginner stuff because it's just colors, right? If we brought a team of all purples, now the purple team, I'll say, is fine. If you want it to run full purple, that team is fine because this character is one that, like I said, has the ability to cover their own weakness. When they tag switch, because it's a duo character, when they tag switch, they're available to switch colors, okay? So this is a weird character that actually The Goku version functions as a normal purple. He's strong against green, weak against yellow, but the Vegeta version is the reverse, okay? He's a reverse purple, so he's strong against green, but weak against yellow. But nonetheless, though, that means they can cover their weakness to a degree, right? But let's just ignore the fact they can do that. Naturally, though, yellow is the problem for a team like this, so you want to plug in a red character to cover that. Obviously, these teams have no synergy. That's not the point. I'm just showing based on colors, if you're wondering why we're showing these pretty bad teams. So let's go ahead and build the team to finally wrap this all up. So I don't love doing that, but what I would say is a good color synergy trio is having 3 characters that cover each other, okay? So we're starting with a yellow here. The weakness there would be red, so the color we'd plug in would be a blue character. Now, the blue character would be weak to a green element, so the color we'd plug in would be, you guessed it, a purple character. And so you see right here, you have a trio of characters that cover for each other, basically. There's no way to really cover everything, right? Because there's 2 sides of the coin. The opponent will be able to switch and match you, right? But nonetheless, though, that works out pretty well. And if you were to try to like plug it in differently, you can also go something like this. Blue covered by purple, purple covered by red. If that makes sense for you, covering each other's deficiencies, right? Like that purple Goku weak to yellow, UI Goku covers that weakness, right? Now, UI Goku as your main linchpin, though, as your main linchpin, you probably want a green character on the team. This is why I said it's probably best, and this is my philosophy, it just depends on what you're doing. It's probably best to have all the options available all the time. And make sure they're all good characters, which that urine is actually really good if you didn't think about it. Anyways, make sure they're all good characters so you don't really feel like you're missing or losing anything, right? So that's the point, because if you see an opponent that has all one color, you can match them with whatever you need, right? And going from there, you're good to go. So also, this team has good synergy, as we talked about, in terms of not just colors, but Z abilities. You see all these characters are from the Universe Survival grouping, so they're all getting pretty much all of the Z abilities all of the time, and that is an example of how to effectively build a team, right? So we've covered a bunch in this video, but I wanted to go ahead and just briefly summarize, okay? So when it comes down to it, you want to decide what kind of team you're building, right? So we were building a Universe Survival team, okay? So that's what we were working with. We're building a team around those 2 characters. Mainly, they're 2 of the better Universe Survival characters. And if we were to do that, you want to try to match Z abilities. Now, if you really wanted to be cheeky about it, this is something you could also do, and this also shows you the diversity of the leader slot, because there is no restriction on the leader slot, okay? Remember Ultra Gogeta and how he needed to be on like in the leader slot or on a Fusion Warrior team? Let's just build a full-on Fusion Warrior team, okay? So in this situation, you have 2 Ultras on your team. Kaioken Goku gets no Z abilities outside of the Saiyan-based ones, but he can pick up everything in the leader slot, so it's fine. He gets all of his buffs, the extra 30%, because he's in the leader slot. Now you're sacrificing 5% by this dude not being there and not on a full team of, Fusion Warriors, but still it works out pretty well because you have, you guessed it, 2 of the better characters in the game. There is no restriction on that leader slot. That one is a new mechanic. It's part of the reason why I even decided to make this video as a revamped version, because it really does extend out into whatever group you want to build. It doesn't matter, okay? The character can be plugged in there. If I were to build a freaking Vegeta team, Vegeta family team, which typically doesn't have a ton of synergy with Goku family characters, it would be okay, because the leader slot Goku character, as long as he enters the battle as one of the 3 characters, that's the qualifier. That is the only restriction, actually. That character can get whatever, wherever you place them, okay? So that is the most important slot on your entire team. There are going to be some characters that are, again, just transcendently good, like that Goku, who you can plug into any team you want. Some teams don't have a good yellow, for example, or don't have a good red. Let me show you a team let me show you an example of a team that maybe could use a better red, but it's a good team overall, and we can kind of plug in a red character for them to use. Where is LOE? There it is. So LOE, the Frieza-based team, is an actually extremely good team, okay? So this is an example of one of their better builds, better variants, okay? So there's not a lot of high-quality red here, okay? Red is a color that's kind of weird. There's not a ton of high-quality characters recently. Androids are the best red in the game, in my opinion. You would personally plug them in there, but this works too. It works too, okay? And again, in the leader slot, you see, it works, okay? So that's the general outcome. And when you find a team you want to use, you get preset, save it for later and stuff like that. And I didn't talk a ton about equips because that's honestly a little bit different But just know when it comes down to equipping stuff, like I said, it doesn't matter where you put them. You get all the stuff all the time, okay? And the only real tip I have when it comes down to equips is there's not really, in my opinion, the best set of equips for any character, because so many characters have access to so many of them, and some of this stuff depends on the stars that you have based on like pure attack, things like that, really scaling differently. But the thing is, just try to focus on the strengths of the character, okay? It is a mistake to try to cover for the weaknesses of a character, in terms of offense at least. Covering for defensive weaknesses is fine, because you'll find as you play and play higher, having defense and HP really extends very well for you, and it helps with the survivability, and it allows for you to play better matches. A lot of people just go full offense, which is fine, but having a good mixture of the stats is fine. But I've seen the tankier the character, they'll be okay, because mechanics like Rush can carry your offense, okay? But say that we have this dude who really, he functions fine either way, but let's just pretend that he was really bad with blasts, right? Because his offensive numbers are pretty even. I don't think he really has too much specified boosts, but let's just assume or play and act like he didn't have good blasts. You want to try to give him equips that emphasize the strength, okay? Strike attack, perfect. We're going to give him strike attack. Let's just throw some stuff on, right? We don't want to give him this, which is just blast attack, because that's not his strength, okay? You're taking it from bad to average when you could go from good to great on a different stat, if that makes sense. That's all I really have for you guys. If you want to see a different video on philosophies for equipment like this, like I was talking about, I can make a video out of that. If you guys want to, let me know. I will be coming back with a general beginner guide. I wanted to cover this in a separate topic because it's a little bit different. But nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see all of you guys in the next one.